First Impact of the month, D'Lo and AMW defeat Nasawa, Miyamoto, and Make Inu.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Cage Match says Make Inu is Masada, which
I love Masada.
I don't think that's true.
Nah, it doesn't look like Masada.
I think it's David Young under a mask.
I was going to say, in that it looks like a white guy. I wish it was Masada. I love Masada. Former Wrestle 1 Cruiserweight Champion, had a great run against Seki Yoshioka, Yusuke Kadama, Andy Wu.
So the big story here, AMW won with the death sentence, but the Naturals showed up who had already stolen AMW's gear, have now stolen AMW's tag titles.
In both the literal and in the figurative sense.
That's true. So that sets us up. A tag team title match on the next show. Hudson as AMW asks if they didn't take the Naturals seriously. The Naturals stealing the tag titles was their breaking point, and they're going to get exactly what they deserve tonight. Which leads us to an NWA World Tag Team title match between the Naturals and America's Most Wanted. Or actually, we gave out about last month, where they did the video package with all the teams. And they listed like 9 teams, most of which weren't even teams, and they left out the Naturals. And like during the Naturals entrance here, they're like, we left them out of that video. Were we not taking them seriously enough?
Yeah, I mean, that definitely wasn't the intent, but I'm glad they referenced it.
Yeah, they turned it into a little story that's like, oh, well, everybody overlooked them. It wasn't just AMW who overlooked them. Like, we overlooked them. We left them out of that video.
And now they're the champs, so fuck you.
Yeah, so they beat AMW here very, very quickly. It's like a weird thing. Like, Rudy was breaking down the rules, which is a thing they've never done before. He's like, I want it clean, I want it straightforward, blah-de-blah-de-blah-de-blah.
See, I don't like when wrestling does that. I wish you would just, like, do that every time, so then when you do the payoff, it makes sense. It's like when occasionally a company will just, like, add a time limit to a match, and you're like, this is going to a draw, I guess.
That's what we call the classic TNA move.
Yeah, I hate that.
So, yeah, match starts. Referee is very quickly distracted. Naturals hit Storm in the back with the belt, then in the head with the belt. And they win the tag titles in like 30 seconds. They're the new NWA World Tag Team Champions. They've stolen the belts from AMW. They've stolen their identity. They've stolen their gimmick. And now they've stolen their titles. And Naturals are the top team in the company.
I think I'm willing to take the L on the Naturals.
You like the Naturals now?
I think I like the Naturals. I think the Naturals are pretty good. And I like that tag finish.
Oh, the Natural Disaster. It rules. I think... Like, yeah. I get why you didn't like them at the time, because, like, they'd show up, they'd have a match with AMW, it would be fine, there'd be nothing...
And they're just so hot shots, you know?
Yeah, like, the match would be fine, like, there'd be nothing wrong with it, but then they'd disappear for months and show up again, and you did have the hot shots run before it, which was literally the exact same thing. By the time you've seen all those hot shots matches and all those Naturals matches, you're like, alright, I get these guys, and I don't like them. But now that's like, again, they've given like committed television time. They're on the show every week. They have actual characters. They have actual promo time. And like, they're not my top 5 tag team of all time. But as like a good tag team, I like them.
Yeah, I think they're fun. And they get tag team wrestling. Which I guess is a low bar, but not a bar that everyone achieves. So
later in the show, Hudson has the Naturals. They're very happy. They talk about how they've gone for the gut checklist, the champs, before Russo comes out and he's like, I have a problem with you guys. So he books them in a ladder match next week where the clothing will be above the ring. And if AMW win, they also get a title shot as well as their clothes back.
Has anyone ever actually been fired from the gut checklist?
No! People have always been just sitting on the gut checklist, waiting to be fired. And like, David Young hasn't won a match in whatever it is, 88 or 87 matches.
I feel like you gotta stop using someone.
Yeah, you gotta cut some people, right?
They should have put D'Lo on the cut checklist.
Yeah, you're out of here.
Well, just to establish that there's actual repercussions.
As opposed to this little gimmick they're using. It's just like, we want to indicate that these people are doing badly. So they're on the gut checklist. So they might be cut. But no one is ever cut.
Yeah. Maybe we will see that with David Young.
So the Naturals will face AMW in a ladder match the following week, which they go to a 10-minute draw with Triple X on TV. The Naturals do the first time limit draw in Impact history.
Yeah, but I don't mind it because they've established it.
Yeah, so this is episode 6. So they went 6 episodes without doing a draw, which I think is fine.
I think AEW did about the same. Before they did Park and Mox.
During this match, they had the ticker, and they accidentally put an extra W in TNAWrestling.com.
You would have been furious.
I was staring intently. It's like looking for typos in their ticker.
You know what? The Impact social media team of 2020 wouldn't have let that go through.
Never. So Skipper had Stevens pinned, but Douglas pulled the referee out. They hit the time limit, JB. Relayed that Larry Zbyszko has awarded the match to Triple X, so Triple X defeat the Naturals via judge's decision after a time limit draw. Naturals attacked, AMW saved.
I do feel like the Naturals always get fucked.
Yeah, the management is against them. Larry Z is against them.
Like, Russo makes the match, and then Larry Z chooses against them. It's just that it feels like they get the short end of the stick.
Even like the fact that they're wrestling AMW in a ladder match, and then they have to wrestle like the other top contenders on Impact. AMW get the entire show off.
It's some
It's
bullshit.
a conspiracy.
For sure.
So, next show, NWA-TNA pay-per-view number 103, July 14th. Main event of the show is the ladder match for the title shot, as well as AMW's gear, which is the reason it's called a double ladder match for some reason.
I thought it should have been 2 ladders.
It's just a ladder match. It's just a ladder match. It's not a double ladder match.
They should have double the amount of a regular ladder match. Or they should have hung up 2 separate items.
Which is what I thought they were going to do. Like, one is the title shot, one is the gear. But no, it's just they're both hung up.
Yeah.
In fact, AMW, because there is 2 things up there. There's the clipboard for the title shot and the gear, but they're all both hung above each other.
Yeah, they should be on 2 separate ones.
And AMW only ever actually pulled down the gear. They never pulled down the contract, so...
That's all you need, apparently.
Before the match, we had an interview. Hudson had AMW. They're taking the Naturals seriously now because those titles mean more to them than anything in the world. And the Naturals are going to learn how hard it is to stay champions tonight. Triple X walk in, say when AMW win the belts, Triple X want the first shot to prove who is best.
I think those 2 could have a good ladder match. A good steel cage.
There is no precedent for this. Don't talk nonsense.
No, I'm sorry.
So, double ladder match. AMW defeat the Naturals in a match where these 2 teams killed each other.
Yeah.
It seems to be like a reoccurring theme in TNA ladder matches where it's like, I don't think it was a great ladder match.
I didn't love it.
But also these guys just went out there and killed each other.
Yeah, it's kind of dull, though.
But like there was sunset flip power bombs off ladders and like hip tosses off ladders. And like my favorite spot in the match was Andy Douglas was too far away from the hanging things, the gear and the contract. So he tried to jump off the ladder and grab them in midair, but then Harris jumped off the ropes to spear him out of midair and fucking rocked.
I think I'm just, like, ladder match fatigued.
You've watched like 7,000 of them and you finally had your fill.
Yeah. I think I'm everything fatigued besides just regular wrestling.
Yeah, just wrestle. Just wrestle.
Which is why I'm like, I beg for new matches.
You want your painbow.
If this was a painbow match.
Triple X watched on. Chase pushed Storm off the top of the ladder through a table. Douglas threw powder in the eyes of Harris. Powder is kind of their thing. Powder and chair shots. Harris speared Douglas in midair, allowing the AMW to pull the gear down to get the tag title shot. And Harris said next week they'll take the title shot in their dream match. It will be the first ever 6-sided cage match as 6 Sides of Steel debuts in TNA.
Cool. Quite the historical match for Impact. Obviously, we will get sick of it very quickly when they start to do Garrett's weird, fantasized every match in the cage pay-per-views.
Why is that my weird fantasize?
Because you keep putting it over to me and I say it's dumb.
I don't know. I like Lockdown.
I don't know. I think it kind of devalues it. It's like Hell in a Cell or TLC.
Now, you see, I think cage matches have already reached that stage of being like tables matches, where it's like they're good matches, but they're not like you have to protect it. So you can just do a show of cage matches.
Nah.
Impact, July 16th. The main event was the AMW against Shazarian match. Again, went to a time limit draw. Dusty made the call, awarded the match to AMW. Naturals run out, Triple X run out, brawl.
You also had a Triple X tag on that show too.
They beat Miyamoto and Nasawa.
No Mazada
Yes,
though.
the Powerplex on Nasawa. Team Canada comes out to confront Triple X after the match.
Mm-hmm.
To set up the first 6 Sides of Steel match in the history of Impact Wrestling. Again, before the match, another AMW interview. They're going to make history. They're going to win the belts back tonight. Triple X walk in and reinforce. They're 4-1 against AMW, and when AMW beat the Naturals, they are going to face AMW for the titles.
And Triple X are also on a bit of a run too because they not only beat, Team Japan, they also beat Team Mexico on this show.
They're running through all the X Cup teams. They also got the time limit result against the Naturals, so they have a victory over the Naturals by time limit judge's decision.
I don't know. I think it's maybe like a lack of match quality, but Triple X are on a run at the moment.
If their matches were good, it would be real good.
Yeah.
Oh, they also won. We didn't even mention it. There was that 3-way tag on, was it the first show of the month?
Yeah.
Which was Team Canada versus Triple X versus Amazing Red and Chris Sabin in a match that was a fucking disaster.
I don't remember much.
It was a match that on paper, you're like, all right, you have Edith Skipper and Christopher Daniels, Petey Williams, Bobby Roode, Amazing Red, and Chris Sabin in the ring. You're like, oh, this is actually going to be really good. But they did it like the triple threat rules where 3 guys in the ring are in the ring at all times.
That's so stupid.
And it was just chaos, and they didn't work it out, and it was just... everything was messy. And for a match with 6 wrestlers many of whom are among my absolute favorites, like ever, including Chris Sabin, one of my favorite all-time wrestlers, full stop, match sucked. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Just one of those matches where guys went out there and nothing landed and everything went wrong and it was just a mess.
It happens sometimes. I was thinking during that, like, I would much prefer a Sabin Jerry Lynn team in the tag division. Just as I think there's a lot of people to work with.
Which we do get a little of, and Red disappears again.
Yeah.
So yes, the Naturals defeat America's Most Wanted in the first TNA 6 Sides of Steel match to retain the NWA World Tag Team titles. Listen, this will always sit in the shadow of the AMW against Triple X match, which was a much better match. But I thought this was a pretty darn good cage match.
Yeah, like, by any other wrestling standards, it was just okay. But by
Wow.
NWA-TNA standards, it was like a match of the year candidate.
By the low bar this company sets, where they have like 1 4-star match every 3 months, if that might be generous.
I was like, wow, you're giving them credit.
This 375 match is probably one of the matches of the year. This has been a bad year for TNA belt to belt, all things considered. But like, it's a 3 3/4 star match. I think this match is really good. I still think like the visual, they all bleed a lot. But the visual of Chase Stevens climbing the cage, bonking his head off the camera, looking up with his bloody face to see the camera, and then just YOLO moonsault off the cage, that image rocks. It's just one of those things. It's like him bonking his head off the camera made the spot so much better. It's like, oh, yeah, I just hit my head off a camera, and then I moonsaulted off a cage.
Yeah, but of course one of the most iconic shots in company history too.
Yeah. You also had Storm just doing a Steiner screwdriver.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Which I don't think he ever does again, but he's like, fuck it. This is a cage match. I'm doing a Steiner screwdriver.
And it looked good too.
Yeah. So, finish, Harris and Stevens got stuck outside the cage. They fell down. Stevens and Harris were about to get back in when Team Canada swarmed the cage, took out Harris. Triple X came out to try and run them off. But then Stevens got back in the ring. The Naturals hit the Natural Disaster, but Storm kicked out. Then they grabbed the chair, hit him twice in the head with the chair, retained the titles. The Naturals, still the NWA World Tag Team Champions.
Which I think was kind of a surprise too.
Yeah, again, the idea is like the cage match is AMW's match. It's the match they asked for. It's the match they called their dream match, and the Naturals beat them in it. Fair enough, with outside interference from Team Canada, but still, it's an attempt to establish the Naturals by having them beat AMW in their own match.
Yeah.
One of those, one, read all these notes in Glenn Gilberti's voice, and 2, really sign of the times changing notes. Some wrestlers were chuckling at the Naturals in AMW for walking through their entire cage match prior to the show. However, one wrestler defended both tag teams. They don't know any better, the wrestler said. No one taught them, and there's nowhere for them to learn. Which, again, let's talk about veterans being condescending and talking about young guys learning. And 2, that's the way all wrestling works now. Like, everyone walks through all of their spots.
It's also a steel cage.
Yeah, you don't want to just go out there and wing it.
I like that, you know, the idea of, like, Raven or someone being in the back and being like, oh, you're not listening to Dutch Mantel? I'd like you to go up to Dutch and tell him that you're working through your steel cage match.
Even by 04, though, I think we were firmly in the every match is planned down to intricate detail territory. Like, it's not the 90s where, like, Savage and DDP were ridiculed for it. Like, 04, the tide had firmly turned in the favor of, like, intricately planning your matches in advance, because for the most part you can have a better match that way, and the only problem you run into is if your match is dying, you might not be flexible enough to change it on the fly. But like, tide had changed by 04. This is even an unfair criticism of these guys in 04.
Yeah. God forbid people care.
AMW beat Petey Williams and Bobby Roode on the July 28th show. Heart attack. D'Amore pulled the ref. Or they hit the heart attack. No one had a heart attack. The wrestling move. But D'Amore distracted the ref. Storm super kicked Roode, and Harris got a jackknife pin for the win. Team Canada attacked AMW after the match. Triple X made the save.
All of these tag teams are being interwoven.
But some of them don't get along. As illustrated, as the Naturals defended the NWA World Tag Team titles against Triple X, D'Amore comes out, distracts Daniels, who was about to go for an Angel's Wings. Then the Naturals hit the Natural Disaster for the win. Then we'd have like the inverse of what happened in the opening segment, where Team Canada attack Triple X, AMW make the save. Storm say they're the best, but then Skipper gets in with Storm. It seems like it's building up to like an 8-man tag with Triple X and AMW against the Naturals and Team Canada. But then Storm and Eagle Skipper, Triple X and AMW start start getting into it.
They should do 2v2v2v2 like a Wrestle Kingdom opener.
This was the match where it's like, none of these matches are that good, and Triple X aren't interesting as baby faces.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just like, oh. Like, it should, like, the Naturals against Triple X should be a good match. America's Most Wanted versus Team Canada should be a good match. Again, 2 matches that have 8 good wrestlers in them across the board, and the matches just didn't turn out to be particularly interesting.
No.
And there you go. There's all your tag team stuff for the month.
It was okay. I like that there is clearly multiple teams in the division that are getting pushes and stories.
And they're making like a real conscious effort to like tell you about that. It's like, oh, we have a loaded tag division. We have AMW, we have the Naturals, we have Triple X, we have, you know, the other Team Mexico, Team Japan. We have all that, and Team Canada. We have all these teams.
I do wish they just delivered at a higher level.
Yeah, and it's like part of like the Asylum environment is just dead. And they're better. They're better than they were a few months ago, but it's still not great.
Yeah.
Even though there is like bitter beef between the Asylum and the Impact Zone now, there's a sign in the crowd at one stage that's like, Asylum owns Studio 21.
Haha, owned.
That'd be known if you've seen the Saban section signs in the crowd. I finally bit the bullet and bought SabanSection.com.
Yeah!
So if you head to SabanSection.com, you can find our Patreon.
Can you get Paparazzi Productions?
Let me look into it.
Yeah, and on that last Impact, we also had another Team Canada squash.
Oh yeah, and Triple X faced Shazarian. DQ Skipper had Kazarian pin, but
everyone runs out.
Yeah, we have just like we ended this month the exact same way we ended last month, Liam. A classic big ass brawl.
Hell yes, that's what I love to see.
We had Triple X, we had Shazarian, we had AMW, we had Team Canada, we had Styles, we had Cash, all out there, all brawling.